He is good. I have a question. I have a question for everyone here. Who here has been asking God for something and you haven't gotten it yet? Yeah. I'm here to tell you you're not paying attention. It's not possible to ask and not receive from God. You're not asking yourself to give it to you. Therein lies the issue. We keep thinking God is holding out on us somehow, and so therefore we think we are being punished. That we are somehow bad, or otherwise God would give me my good. But God only sees you as good. God only sees you and me as itself. God does not bear witness to our self-loathing, our self-hatred, our guilt, our shame, our humiliation. God is not bearing witness to that. But those are the blocks to us giving our good to ourselves. Why would God care about our transgressions enough to withhold a new car? To withhold dinner for a movie, to withhold a job, to withhold a relationship. If God is the bigness that is, really, that's petty stuff to God. All the physical stuff in the universe is nothing to God. And so, if you want it, God has already given it to you. If you have asked God, God has already given it to you and given it to me. Given more than enough. Because you see, everything that we could ever want comes by way of a divine idea. And so, who's holding out? Who is withholding our good? It's not possible that it could be God. And so, as I've said here so many times, if the God of your understanding doesn't know what you need a new God. If your God is so stupid that it doesn't know what you need, is so unkind as to withhold love, peace, joy, wisdom, anything of itself from you, then you got a mean God. You got a really mean, irascible God. And it's time for a new one. It's time for the God that is instead of the God that isn't. In my misunderstanding of love, I have created a God not unlike my petty self. I have created a God not unlike my petty parents. I have created a God not unlike the petty God of those in the Bible. I have created a petty, miserable, cheap, egotistical God that could possibly ever hold out on my riches. Either that, or I've created a petty, cheap, mean me. And then, you know what? Either way, it's okay. It's okay, because neither is true. God isn't mean, petty, and cheap, and neither am I. The difference is, God doesn't behave mean, petty, and cheap, but sometimes I do. And then, but what I love is, we come up these steps on a Sunday morning. Because we say we believe in this wonderful God. And we believe that God loves us. And what Sean says on the pulpit is so great. And then the talk ends. And we get into announcements. And by the time we get to announcements, the thought starts falling away. And by the time we get to fellowship, we've gone back to believing that something is wrong. I recently heard about that there's too many chairs over by the fellowship and they didn't want to move them because they were afraid I would be upset. Move the chairs, please. It's your church. It's your church. Move the chairs. I could not care less where the chairs are except during the service. But if you move them, put them back. It's your place. Keep it nice. But move the chairs. This is the kind of stuff. Who here wants my approval? Oh, thank you, God. Because I don't have it to give. Who wants my disapproval? Yeah. I don't have that to give either. You see, my approval or disapproval of you is my issue, not yours. It's 100% my issue. Do not fear me. It's foolish. It's foolish. Just come up. Let's chat. Let's talk about what you want. Let's practice love. Practice loving yourself. Practice giving yourself the opportunity to have what you want. Practice giving yourself the opportunity of experiencing the bigness that God is. That's what love is. That is the law of love. The law of love isn't, I will withhold. The law of love is develop the consciousness of love so that you may know what love is and that you may experience it in all circumstances, not just the ones you like, not just the ones that are comfortable. It is very uncomfortable to grow. It is very uncomfortable to expand our consciousness because we are going to walk away from the familiar. Even if the familiar is bondage, even if the familiar is pettiness, even if the familiar is a scolding, stern parent or self, to walk away from that is going to be uncomfortable. To walk into peace, to walk into joy, to walk into love, to walk into what God is likely to be very uncomfortable until you are willing to say, I am God's beloved child. I am called beautiful. And it's not that I deserve all this. It's just that it is my inheritance. The love of God is my inheritance. The wisdom of God is my inheritance. The power and presence of God is my inheritance. It is also the inheritance of the people I don't like. It is also the inheritance of the people I am indifferent to. It is the inheritance of the people my parents didn't like. It is the inheritance of the people my grandparents didn't like. What God is our divine inheritance. Start giving it freely. Listen to this. The universal law of love. The law of love is the essence of what one can give and is, so to speak, the only commodity one can give or receive. It is all we have been given and all that we can give. All else, materially, that we may desire is connected to love, and without love is empty. And so, many of us have tried to acquire things in life. And some of us have succeeded in acquiring them. But we haven't attempted to do it in love. And so we got them, and they didn't mean anything. Have you ever had a good day at the mall? And you come home with lots of stuff, and you're still not satisfied? Ever been on a date finally, and you have dinner and you have a nice evening, and it didn't mean anything, and you go home just as empty as when you left your house? Or gone to a party and wondered why you weren't a part of the party? Ever had a great thing happen today, yesterday, the day before, and not noticed it? Not noticed it because you didn't give thanks to the actual source. You gave thanks to the false source, the illusion. You gave thanks to the physical instead of the spiritual. Jesus said in John 13:34, I give you a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. So you should also love one another. This is how all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Well, here's the deal. We need to learn how to pray. We need to learn a new way of praying, many of us. Maria started it today. It was a great way to pray. To be aware of the love within you. I've had people call me with prayers to heal someone they love. And the prayer I know to lead is for the person calling me and how they see. I pray for your vision of how you see the one you love, the one who is ailing. That's going to do more to heal the one you love than for me to pray for that one. If I'm to pray for that one, then I need to speak to that one to find out what they want. But it is your upset you're calling me about, and I can hold you through that. I can hold you compassionately through that. I don't have to preach at you when you call me up and say, please pray for my uncle. And it's like I will just pray for your vision, your sight, your thoughts about your uncle, or whoever it is. Because remember, it's your sensations, it's your upset that you're really, because God, it's not as if God is not with those we feel sorry for. It's not as if they don't have God. Love them enough to be willing to have God with them all the time, and God is with you. How many of you pray to win the lottery so you can take care of your whole family, but you're not praying for your family to win the lottery? We have grandiose thoughts about how if I got several $1 million, if I got $100 million, I would just take care of everybody. I'd give so much away. But we're not praying for everybody to get $100 million, are we? It seems to me we're praying to be big shots. As long as I have the $100 million and I can decide what to do with it, I can be generous. But what if somebody you loved won $100 million and they weren't so generous with you? Now it's out of your control. Better to be a big shot. But think about your person. Are you willing for everyone to have the good? Do you love yourself and God so much that you would be willing that everyone could have the good that you're praying for yourself? Would it be all right with you if everyone had a job that they loved? Would it be all right with you if everyone were happy and joyful and free and at peace? I mean everyone. Because you see, then you couldn't be holding anyone into bondage until they apologize to you. Then you couldn't be holding yourself and them into slavery of ego until it's worked through. Could it be worked through by you both being happy? If you were willing to give yourself the joy that you beg God for, and we do beg God for joy, when we ask for a thing, we think the thing will give us joy. If I just had this, I'd be happy. If I just had this, I would be secure. If I just had this, I would be free. We're not giving God thanks for freedom. We're giving God thanks for a new kitchen set. We're giving God thanks for a relationship. We're giving God thanks for the stuff. And, that's only once we get it. Because first we're begging God for it in one form or another, as if God is withholding it. But the love, the universal law of love, and I beg you to get understanding of it. And I beg me to get understanding of it. The universal law of love that would allow peace to prevail in every cell, every tissue, every fiber of our being. Imagine that peace prevailed all the time and you weren't afraid of anyone. You weren't afraid of anything. That's the kind of love we're talking about. Could you possibly believe that the God that we speak of here could ever withhold love? And yet, if somebody comes up and speaks to me in a way that I don't like their tone, I will suddenly convert back to my old belief, love must be absent here. And I will defend, and I'll do whatever. And I work diligently day after day after day to put my defenses down so that I can listen. When my first thought when Maria went around, you know, what was the prayer? Something by?
How do I show love?
How I show love by. And my first thought was by listening. Listening. That's how I show love. By listening. Not placating, but by listening. By listening. And because listening's difficult for us. I told some of you the story before a few years ago when we were going through our renovations at the house and everything, and David was there day after day for months, trying to write, trying to do his work, trying to make a living, and dealing with contractors all day long. I got to come to the office here. I got to come play. Kenneth and I played every day. You know, we worked and we visited, and he's home alone with contractors and dust. He was having a hard time with it, and he was sinking. He was sinking down, and he was irritable, and I didn't know what to do about it. And so I went out, and one day I came home, he's taking a nap, and I could see, you know, I've never seen anyone so not at peace while asleep as that afternoon. And so I went out in our backyard, and I stood by the river, and I said, okay, God, I'm really afraid of the answer here, but how do I best serve David? And instantly I heard, listen. And as I have said, now I know why I was afraid of the answer. Because I wanted to hear something wise to go upstairs and fix him, because I perceived him as broken. Okay, there's my sin. Perceiving someone as broken. Perceiving someone as in need. He gave me an opportunity to pray. He had to get pretty miserable in order to give me that opportunity. Thank you very much. And but I've never forgotten that prayer, obviously. Oh, listen. And often I have gone to God since then, gone to Spirit. But if you, however you want to pray, because you can pray from where you are. You don't have to pray at what you might perceive as the advanced level. Anywhere where you're willing to pray is where you start. But sometimes your prayer might be, how do I correctly pray in order to manifest the life I want to manifest? Ask God that. Ask Spirit that. Because you want to pray with a consciousness to manifest. It's not, you know, James, the book of James tells us, you pray, but you pray amiss. Well, because you're trying to manifest without the consciousness to manifest it, and that's why it ends up empty. The manifestation will end up empty, or it won't happen at all. And so we want to pray in love. To pray in love, love for self. Not entitlement, but worthiness. Pray over yourself that you be willing to experience peace in whatever form peace takes, that you be willing to experience security in whatever form the security takes place, that you pray in health in whatever form the health takes place, that you experience harmony in whatever way harmony takes place. Anybody here go to God with a prescription for how God should fulfill it in order for you to live your life the way you have perceived it must be lived in order to have love, peace, harmony? And then it doesn't work. God, the pharmacist, isn't fulfilling your thing, isn't it? You know, somehow God doesn't fulfill it the way you said it ought to be fulfilled. It's like you sent away for a subscription to Vanity Fair and you got Weekly Reader. And it's and you refuse to pick up Weekly Reader because it's not Vanity Fair, but the answers you need are in Weekly Reader. The thing you need is in the Weekly Reader. How do you know? Because it was sent to you. You brought it. You delivered it. If we're all one, then you brought it to the door. You ordered it, you delivered it. You thought it was this, but it must have been this. It's so hard to accept. I know. Oh, it's brutal. It's just brutal to accept that we are the creators of our experience by way of our power. It is our divine power that creates such miserable experiences or such joyous experiences, but it's my power. God gave it to me in the beginning. That which I want has already been given. So how do we go about loving ourselves so much I suggest you journal. I suggest you pray differently than you've ever prayed before. Open yourself up. I suggest you think before you speak. I suggest you think before you react. And that thought that happens in that millisecond is the word, at the very least, God, or the word love, or the word Jesus, whatever word works best for you. In that millisecond, before the first word comes out of your mouth, becomes a word you associate with completeness, with wholeness, with truth, with love. Let that word, and then speak your words, and then take your actions. You know, some of us need mentors. Some of us need therapists. Some of us need things. And rarely will you find a place that is one-stop shopping. You know, Unity Center certainly isn't one-stop shopping. I speak in a fairly absolute way. But you take the absolute thought from where you currently are sitting and see, how would I apply even part of that today? And maybe you need to call me in the office during the week to say, Sean, you said this on Sunday. Could you clarify it a little more for me? Because I love talking about this stuff. I love exploring it. It will be a wonderful gift if you want to call and talk about truth principles with me and how to maybe apply them. And you know, and I don't have a problem with, I'm going through this and I don't know how to apply what you said to this. That to me is a loving conversation. Calling me up and saying, Sean, you're wrong for everything. That's not so loving. And that's when I have to say, love, 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 love. And you were thinking, you know, before I react. Because sometimes I react. And I know, you know, it's like airlines that are rude to you and you hold a grudge for 10 years, they say, before you go back to them. You know, we are in a place where we've got to practice forgiveness. Because if you can't forgive me, how are you going to forgive yourself? I'm on your side. And I'm looking to be on my side. Because I want to be the one to prove the principles true. Who here would like to be the one to prove the principles true? On a daily basis, to prove the principles true. The law of love, to prove it true. The law of being. The law of cause and effect. The law of attraction. The universal laws, to prove them true. Because I promise you, I so promise you, you will have a great life as you prove them true. Now, you can try to prove me wrong by practicing that. That's fine. That has worked in my favor. I've tried to prove people wrong, and when practicing truth, and I've always proven them right. And so go ahead, try to prove me wrong. I dare you. I dare you. Apply principle in order to prove me wrong. And find out whether you prosper or not. Apply it every day, and every third, I don't know what that was. Every thought, that's the word I was looking for. Every thought, every word, thought and word, I put them together. And all your thirds. Practice, principle, practice it. So, I know we get some fun from our misery, but it's a drag when it comes down to it. And we end up mad and we end up dragging people along. Seek what you can do. Seek what you can do. Do not seek anyone else's approval. They can't give it to you. Do not seek anyone's disapproval. They cannot give it to you. The law of love is, here, you might want to put this in your notebooks. The law of love is. That's what the law of love is. That love is. So anywhere where you're not feeling it, where you don't think you're being it, just remember, love is. That means there couldn't have been an absence of love here. I'm just not understanding it right now. Love is. Love is. Love is. And when you do that, and when I do that, everything shifts. And it's not comfortable necessarily, but it's good. when you apply the law of love to any thought, love is, it will change everything from the way you knew it before to closer to what it actually is. Thank you so much.